So, welcome back to part 2 of our student mental health plenary as part of the NAMI California 2020 virtual conference. Hopefully everybody had a nice quick break, got to stretch your legs, grab a glass of water. I put my dog in a squeaky toy out in the other room, so we won't have that anymore. So thank you for those of you that were really patient with that terrible noise in the background. So I am really excited today to welcome our panelist for this part of the presentation on Wellness Together. I have with me today Jeremiah Aha with Wellness Together. He's the assistant director for the program, a registered associate professional clinical counselor, and has more than 20 years of experience working with youth and families. I am so privileged to work with Jeremiah and our partners as part of the Blue Sky Initiative, proudly sponsored by Blue Shield, and through that have just been incredibly in awe of the work that they're doing around student mental health, as well as the other partners on that. So I'm gonna just turn it over to Jeremiah. We'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, again, you can go ahead and utilize the chat box, or on the Whova app, there's a chat feature. I will be supporting Jeremiah as moderator, so let us know how we can help you answer any questions, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Jeremiah. Welcome.
Angela, thank you so much. Hear a little bit of an echo. I'll pause real quick. All right, there we go. Hey, so glad to be here. Would love to hear where you're all from. So maybe where you're at and the role, and that you're serving students and families and supporting their mental health needs. Would love to just get a sense of who is in the room, who's here with us. Give a shout out for your city. It'd be great to see. I have Allie, San Bernardino County. Great to have you here. Allie was the first one. She broke the ice. Who's going to join her? Jeremy from San Diego. Hello and good morning. NAMI affiliate and education programs. Thanks for your work. Juliet, hello. Kristen, great, from Sacramento, right here with me. Vaughn from Riverside, Jerry from Sonoma, Catherine, that's 2 for Riverside. Fabiola from Salinas, Mark, Napa County, another from Riverside. Stephanie, Tanya, I believe, Brentwood, Perla from Napa, Karen from San Bernardino, Terry from NAMI San Mateo County, Jan from San Diego, Odette, hello. The Brown family from Rosemead. Graham, good to see your name. I saw you also in the keynote session earlier. Thanks so much for being here. Really privileged to partner with NAMI, and as Angela said, it's been great working with them on the Blue Sky Initiative. That's a multi-year partnership that we have with Blue Shield of California to increase student resilience and help increase positive well-being for students and families across the state of California. As Angela said, my name is Jeremiah Aha. I'm the assistant director here, proud to serve on the Wellness Together school mental health team. Samantha, hello from Amador County. Carla, Sabrina, great. Thanks everyone for your participation. Really appreciate it. So Wellness Together is a nonprofit based out of Sacramento. We have offices in the Bay Area as well as San Diego. And as a nonprofit organization, we partner with districts across California to provide access to mental health services for students and families without any kind of eligibility requirements for insurance, Medi-Cal, or diagnosis, and at no cost to students or families. And our executive director, which I'll tell a little bit of his story starting out, began as a school counselor, and his name is Marlon Morgan. You may have encountered him, and there may be a few attendees here today that were able to be a part of the California Student Mental Wellness Conference. We have the privilege of partnering with the California Department of Education every year for that. It was just last month, and there might have been some of you that were on that. Thanks so much for your partnership, if you were. So I'm going to kind of switch gears here and go to the slides. And so if you'll bear with me. There we go. I think we can see it. I bet if I do this, rather this, yeah, it's probably just those two screens. Hold on real quick. How about there? Can I get a looks good in the chat if we're seeing just one slide? It's like every presentation keynote tries to look different. I mean, Yandere, thank you very much. Ali, thank you very much. Glad you're all here. So it was a bit mysterious in the workshop name. Forgive me for that. And we're proud to be a breakout session leader here, but I recognize that if you're unfamiliar with Wellness Together, it may have been a little mysterious to see just the name in there. So Wellness Together is the name of our nonprofit. And for this particular time, we're going to talk about how we partner with school districts and organizations to increase access to mental health supports. I already introduced myself, my name, proud to serve as assistant director. And this is kind of our goal, helping students, parents, and educators succeed by providing mental health services both on campus and online, and to share how that's done. And one of the reasons why we're so glad to partner with NAMI California and our other partners here in California is we believe that this should happen through the 3 A's. There'll be some alliteration this morning as I think Tom this morning shared the 3 P's. So I'll just kind of follow suit with them on the 3 A's. We seek to increase mental health awareness and mental health advocacy. NAMI California does a great job of that, and so we're partnering with them. And then the main thrust of our work is done on providing increased access. As you know, as you have some role, whether it be at the policy level, they're within the county, community-based organization, or at a school, the tough part is really providing access to students and families, especially right now in this age of COVID, as there's quite a few more barriers that students and families are encountering during this time, as it's a bit difficult on all of us, not just the students and families we serve, the communities we serve, but I'm sure even for those of us here today. So the hard work of access and creating that is the main focus of our work. And one thing, if you need to leave early or you're just tuning in, I want to make sure this is at the very front. This is a free resource for you. And it was a webinar series we did back in April. And some of you here in the presentation, here in the breakout room, may have had the opportunity to be a part of it. But it's called Supporting You, Supporting Students. And you can access this webinar series for free there at our website, wellnesstogether.org/SYSS. That stands for Supporting You, Supporting Students. We had the honor of the California Surgeon General joining with us, Superintendent Thurman joining with us, and Dr. Stephen Brock from Cal State University, Sacramento. And there's our Executive Director, Marlon Morgan. We always give him a hard time. It looks like his Rob Reiner photo. If you're a fan of some incredible 80s movies, Rob Reiner may have directed those. And that's not him, that's our Executive Director, Marlon Morgan. Make sure to check that out. There's some great resources as we seek to equip you to support the students, families, or communities that you serve. And be on the lookout as we will have another one of those here in the spring, as we're seeking to do that to equip you all. Free events. If you want to make sure you're a part of the updates on those, you can sign up at our mailing list at wellnesstogether.org, and we'll be able to get you signed up and you'll be the first to know. And lastly, I never thought I'd be saying this in my life, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that's also a way that you'll get access to our videos very quickly. I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old daughter, and there's a few YouTubers that they follow, and I get to hear that every once in a while. Subscribe to our channel. So this is me now saying that unironically. You can subscribe to that. We'd love to equip you again to increase mental health awareness, advocacy, and access for mental health supports for individuals across the state. Okay, let's get into a little bit of the why. And for those that are on here, this is, I believe, as Tom said this morning, preaching to the converted. But I think it might be important just to put some of these numbers to the problem that likely many of you are seeing right there in the trenches. So there's 50 million public school students in the US. About 7 million of those students are here in California. And you've heard for years likely that 1 in 5 of those adolescents are suffering from a mental health disorder. There's serious mental health challenges that they are facing every day that is significantly impacting their ability to learn and engage in the curriculum or engage with others. This is, again, pre-COVID. I saw just a recent study that put out by the CDC just on September, and it was showing that 1 in 4 of our 18 to 24-year-olds, our young adults, in the past 30 days have thought seriously about taking their life. So there's more anxiety, there's more depression since we have less contact and less opportunity for connection with others. And so we're seeing some mental health decline. Even these past 6 months, there's several studies underway right now that are looking at our youth and how they are responding or the support that they could use. So this is, again, pre-COVID, 1 in 5 are there, and a majority of those aren't receiving mental health services for one reason or another. And there's a lot of reason for barriers to access. It could be something as simple as the nearest mental health provider there in their area is an hour and a half or 2 hours away. It could be that it's a financial barrier, that the home lacks the discretionary income to pay for those kinds of services. Maybe they do have an HMO, they do have insurance, but the wait list is 6 or 7 weeks. Or maybe the carrier or the provider doesn't have room to see them unless there's a serious threat to themselves or others. Maybe their Medi-Cal coverage has lapsed. It could be even, particularly for our students and families that have undocumented family members, for them to seek support from the county, which provides great services across the state, or even to try and renew their Medi-Cal coverage. There could be some fears surrounding public charge, some very serious concerns they could have. It could even be there at yes, Allie, thank you. They don't recognize that there is a mental health issue. Yes, and that could be tied to some of the family culture component, that maybe that wasn't something that was discussed or experienced or brought to light until maybe this generation where the student or the young adult is experiencing that. There's a lot of different reasons. It's very complex. There's not just one straightforward approach, but every individual has a story, has a background, and has things that have informed who they are right now, right? And so sometimes some of those things and some of those barriers we can see that are standing in the way from them getting support when they need it. So timely mental health services, right? So particularly in a school setting is what I'll be kind of gearing our time for. As I mentioned, we're a nonprofit that partners with school districts to provide access. In a perfect world, there's at least 4. This is definitely a non-exhaustive list. There's other individuals there on a school campus that's supporting a student. So these are just 4 of those groups that is present when we're on campus. And they're still maybe connected now in this kind of distance learning. If your district is still on that, maybe it's a hybrid model. It's a little bit tougher to connect, but there's individuals that are there to support the student. Let's take a look at those just to see how that is happening or how that could be improved by other means. So we see the teachers are there, and they're oftentimes at the so-called front lines. They are there with students. They have maybe seen the students not only for a number of months, but maybe they've seen them for a number of years in a row, right? And so they can tell the immediate changes that might happen. But they may have gone through even youth mental health first aid, which I definitely champion that training for mental health clinicians and for adults there in the community. Youth mental health first aid has been very valuable for our educators across California. But let's say there are teachers that haven't had that. So there's no formal mental health training. So to recognize some of those signs could be difficult. And there's a lot already on their plate. There's a lot of responsibilities, especially right now, as I heard a district leader just say recently, it is a tough time to be in education right now, especially for our teachers. They are really bending over backwards in many ways to do so. Thank you for your efforts if you are a teacher and you're able to be a part of this conference for these next couple of days. So teachers are there, but they may not have the mental health training. School counselors is a different story, right? They might have 2 or even 3 years of formal mental health training within their grad program, or some familiarity to social emotional learning interventions. They may be familiar on even delivering some of those to students in groups or even a one-on-one environment. But this number has improved since the beginning of this year. We're now in some areas of the state around 1 in 700, 1 in 600 of a caseload. The national recommended average from the American School Counseling Association, they recommend 250 students to 1 school counselor, which in the state of California, for public schools or charter schools, I haven't heard of that happening. There's actually very few states and even areas across the country where that is happening. And some of that is due to funding. Some of that is due, actually, there's a lot of reasons why that could be happening, right? But likely first day on the job, if it's anything like our executive director, when he began, there was over 700 students on his caseload across 2 different campuses. So his time was split. He had the training to be there for students, but there's a whole different language. And if you're familiar with Aries.net, it's a whole different, almost computer language that he had to learn. Or he was given the task to create and maintain the master schedule for the school. Or there was a lot of work that's done to help students navigate into the college admissions process. These are all very important things, but oftentimes they have the ability, the desire, the passion to help, the training to help, but their plates are already quite overloaded. Who else is on campus that can help the student? There's school nurses, and they sometimes can be the ones that first notice these signs, especially what we call psychosomatic, right? So that the stress or anxiety or some of the low mood symptoms are manifested in headaches or stomach aches or some ways it's showing up in the body, right? So they can see that, but there's a real shortage of those across the state as well. Some school nurses are spending, a number of different sites throughout the week to help these particular students. So they're a bit overburdened as well. And then finally, school psychologists. If you're unfamiliar, there's also a shortage of those in California. They're quite busy and their job is extremely important there within the school or within the district. And a lot of times their role is to assess for special education. Their role is to help maintain those individual education plans. And some of those they can deliver and facilitate mental health interventions there on campus. And that is great. That actually, in our experience, has been quite rare for those that have the bandwidth to be able to do that. And that's if a school psychologist is able to be dedicated to one particular site. So we have individuals there on campus that have the passion, that have the know-how, but again, the need continues to rise for our students. So in a perfect world, they all would be there. But where the needs are at right now is rates of anxiety and major depressive disorder diagnosis and continues to rise even before COVID. The needs are definitely there. Our goal is to partner with organizations to see that every student succeeds. And so how that happens, we kind of looked at a little bit of the why and why there's a little bit of a problem, and we could spend hours just on that, right? And in fact, I'd love to see from you in your area, maybe you're in education or you're a part of a county organization. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the barriers? What are some of the things that is getting in the way to see your students and families have access to mental health services? I'd invite you just to put a few lines there in the chat. And if you'd rather not be identified there with your area, maybe say a friend of mine has these issues with their area, kind of disguise it like that. But what are some of the barriers that exist for the community that you're serving? Knowing where to find services, yes, can be it's a very complex process, yes, it can be. Who else? I have a parent, thank you for speaking, Fabiola. Let me go over here. And my challenge, Angela, would you mind reading that? My window here is in the way and I don't want to mess things up. What does Fabiola say? I'm a parent and my challenge is what?
Of course, it says, I'm a parent. My challenge is the process to receive services.
Yes, that can be sometimes navigating a phone tree. It can be like hitting a maze, right? There's a long waiting list. Yes. Parents are not directed. Angela, what does Graham say?
It says, hold on 1 second. Mine started to populate with the other responses. Let me get back up here.
No problem.
Graham says, parents are not directed to services available at school.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Chris, excellent. Good to see your name in here. There's Thank you for the comment. Yes, there's stigma from peers. There could be some shame or embarrassment or unpleasant emotions associated with seeking help. Student not sharing with parents that there's an issue, I think is what I'm gathering. I can see like the first third of the comment. Resources in the community, Latinx or Hispanic communities. Yes. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing. You know, one of the barriers too, just to kind of riff on Stephanie, what you shared and some of the list we had others, is sometimes it can be very helpful if the provider looks like or sounds like the person that's in front of them, right? So maybe you have an individual that English is not their first language, or they are a part of a minority population. Being able to speak with someone that looks or sounds that has maybe experienced some of the same things in their life can be quite a comfort, whereas those that haven't, it may be a barrier to sit down and connect with others. Yes, thank you. Stigma within the Indigenous community. Alejandra, thank you very much. Yes, stigma on many levels. Thank you all for contributing. Yes, absolutely agree. There's a lot that stands in our way, but these 2 days, this is where the work is being done to know that you are not alone, to know that there is hope, that we are, you know, building bridges and making headway to this. And thank you all for the advocacy that you are doing for your communities. Viridinia, thank you for resources for youth programs within the community. Appreciate that. Okay, so I'll share a little bit of the how this happens for Wellness Together. And again, this isn't the only way, this is just one way. And if there are any questions, even on ways to connect with maybe similar organizations within your area, would love to help with that. This isn't simply just a how-to just for our program, but our mission is also in our name, and that's the second word, that's together, right? So we seek to collaborate and to partner with all that help make it happen, even if it means that it's not us in your area. So please reach out if there's questions. I'll have some time at the very end as well to go over some specifics. So if you're familiar with this triangle, typically services within a school district are separated into 3 tiers. And tier 1 is where most of those supports are listed. So think maybe like a school assembly on making wise choices, things of this nature. Tier 2, think of maybe a program that's for just some of students, maybe some students who need additional support, could be for some academic work, or maybe there's a social skills group that happens at lunchtime. And think of tier 3 as few students, and what's included there is maybe assessment for special education, or it could be being referred to or placed into an alternative school site. It also could be where there's one-on-one counseling that happens on a weekly basis. Wellness Together services fit into tier 2 and tier 3 of the multi-tiered system of supports. Our clinicians are there on site, and I'll get to more of the hows on this, but we partner with schools to place what we call mental health specialists. And these are associates or licensed clinician there on campus to, as you see, to supplement and not supplant the already great work that school counselors, administrators, school psychologists, that district leaders are doing there within the area. And to add to that, to enhance, maybe to add some additional supports there in tier 2 or in tier 3. Because as we see, as we go up the triangle, it gets more restrictive. As we come down, it becomes a little bit more less restrictive, right? And so we want to be able to keep students that are within maybe a tier 1 within that particular environment, knowing that there's support, that they're on good footing, that they can succeed in their academic experience. So the ways we make that happen, I gave a warning that there's going to be alliteration in here. So here we go, here's the evidence. We explain our program and we walk through it with something called the 5 T's. And you can see those T's there. We'll walk through these for our time this morning. This is how we partner with schools, again, not to displace or to replace any of the great work, but to supplement the interventions that are already on campus. And it happens first with therapists, the training we do, what transition looks like. Oftentimes we're a bridge to community-based organizations, to county providers, to Medi-Cal providers, some of the tools that we use, and some of the data reporting measures that we have, which for district leaders or LCAP committees, stakeholders, at a particular site. This is very important for them to see, are these resources, are these LCAP priorities being met, these kinds of things. Okay, so we'll go who, what, when, where, and how. Here's our quick summary for us. So the therapists, who are they? So these are individuals, and now across the state, as I mentioned, that are licensed therapists, or they've completed their graduate program and they're on the road to receive those 3,000 clinical hours under clinical supervision. And so these clinicians are actually getting to participate in quite a broad range of experience for students and for families. And so they already have their master's degree. It could be in school counseling, could be an marriage and family therapy program, a professional clinical counseling program, could be even in their PPS credential that they're going through. So we have those individuals, and occasionally we'll take trainees, and trainees are the individuals that they are in the last semester of their grad program, and they are required to be a part of a practicum site. And so we really hire according to fit, as we have sites in the East Bay, even down in San Diego, near the Mexico-California border. And we definitely are making sure that we have Spanish-speaking clinicians that are down there, or bilingual clinicians, bicultural clinicians, particularly in the East Bay area and the South Bay area. There in San Francisco is very helpful, again, because students and families that could help kind of let their walls down, right? And to be able to be open to receiving support from someone that looks like them, sounds like them, maybe has some of the same family background experience. So we hire according to fit, making sure that they fit really well within that particular school culture and that community. And they provide on-site services. Since 2017, we've been delivering telehealth via Zoom. We have a HIPAA grade Zoom account. And so in March, when the school shutdowns began, fortunately, we were very familiar with the environment. So within a matter of a few days, we sent a couple of emails to district leaders and to site admin, and we hardly skipped a beat. I can say, and I'm very grateful for that. I know not every organization can say that. So we've been getting phone calls throughout the time on, best practice and things like that. How can we, move to a telehealth in a seamless fashion? So for us, thankfully, we had 75 to 90% of the caseload was continuing to be utilized when we went from on-campus school-based support services to virtual support services. And so they are trained in that as well. And so now it's, nearly 100% of via telehealth, so virtual mental health services for students and families. And so here's the services that are provided. Our mental health specialists are able to provide individual counseling services. And what that looks like when a student is referred to the program, they are able to receive up to 10 weekly sessions, 40 minutes long, of cognitive behavior therapy. This is an evidence-based intervention, and we only use evidence-based interventions with our students. And they are also able to receive up to 3 family engagement sessions. And those family engagement sessions aren't family therapy. As much training as we give our mental health specialists, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging when there's some adults in the room because they want to support their student. But if you think about a wraparound or a mini wrap or a SST meeting at a school, a family engagement session essentially is having the natural supports, the adults in the student's life that they have invited to be a part of that process, if they do want any of those with them. And they have said, and the mental health specialist will essentially lead the meeting as such, what commitments can each of you make to help the student achieve this goal that they've created within the program? It could be a therapeutic goal, it could be an academic goal, it could be a personal goal. So 3 sessions for that. So it's really used to help create and then navigate SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, action-based. You remember that, right? And you likely do that with your own role. So up to 13 sessions of weekly therapy with the mental health specialist. They're also able to lead group counseling sessions. That's where the tier 2 interventions come in, right? And additionally, because sometimes when a student is in need, an immediate need, and there may not be a school counselor, school psych, admin, school social worker, I may not be one of those individuals available. And so we were able to step in, meet with that particular student, and assess for safety even for the next week, making sure we're calling parents, keeping all of admin and the site team in the loop if there's any issues of safety or danger for that particular student. So those are the services that we do. In addition to that, what we found has been very effective in this age. It's been very different. This 2020-21 school year is we are leading classroom presentations. And so usually those are 15 to 25 minutes long, and those are on strategies for coping with stress, anxiety, self-care measures, and how to really navigate some of the uncertainty and unpredictability that this time in our lives is bringing to everyone. So all this and much more, and a lot of our trainings we'll get to next, I'll share, is really how to navigate a school environment. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Here's just a short list of the evidence-based curricula that our mental health specialists, our MHSs, use for the counseling groups. All clinicians are trained in trauma-focused interventions. As because you're part of this conference and you have a heart for raising mental health awareness, you've likely heard of the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, or ACEs. And we know that over 2/3 of our students have experienced at least one traumatic incident before 18 years of age. And so especially right now, as there's many of us, if not all of us, are going through something traumatic or some type of loss or grieving that's happening, our clinicians are equipped to sit in that space with students and really help them process and to gain resiliency and increase coping skills for that. There's another short list for our group counseling curricula. So this is based on the population need. They're at the school site, what that looks like. They're on campus or online. All that we need is a confidential space to meet with students. And now all that we need is just our connection with the referring party. And how that works, again, I mentioned that our executive director began as a school counselor. And one of the reasons why I continue to come back to that is because we sincerely believe in the work that not only school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, school nurses, school admin, educators, bus drivers, maintenance workers, everyone there that's a part of that ecosystem of the school plays a role in the overall well-being of the student. And so what we desire to do is to come alongside and partner with them. Well, typically within a secondary setting, so 7th through 12th grade, the school counselor, as many of our schools across California have at least one school counselor or a team, they're the ones that oftentimes are closest to the student or to the family. So we partner with school counselors mainly to to receive referrals. So school counselors are usually, or school psychologists are usually the ones to make referrals to the program, as they have a good awareness of what interventions the student has received, maybe what's going on in the home, or has a good eye on what's happening academic-wise, attendance-wise, behavior for the student. They can make a referral based on some of the criteria that I'll take a look at later with us. And within a K-6 in a primary setting, usually that is the principal or the vice principal there at the site who has a good familiarity with the student, with the family. So they're the ones to make the referral. So we want to work with them in collaboration, increasing trust on both sides, so they know that we are there to make their jobs easier and to help support the students that maybe they're unable to get to with all the demands on their plate. So we really count on the collaboration, the partnership with the school staff that's there, particularly the school counseling team for secondary sites. And with that, there's only a small number of individuals at a school that are able to see who's involved in the program. And that's because through FERPA, the Family Education Rights to Privacy Act, all the students' information to be kept confidential, right? The way the funding works, and oftentimes this is funded through LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan, that designated portion of monies that goes towards helping students succeed in 8 priority areas there at the district level. And so because the funding goes through there, we are able to collaborate and to say students' names and to talk about maybe some generals, not too specifics. We want to keep that therapy relationship, keep that high trust, but we are able to collaborate with on-site administrators. And why that is important is because sometimes for funding or for programs that is kind of under the HIPAA umbrella, there's extra steps that need to be taken, like release of information. There's additional protocol that needs to be followed in order for, if I'm a mental health specialist, to talk to their teacher to say, you know, Bobby had a pretty rough weekend, just a heads up, he could be a little off today. If the teacher were to ask me, how's Bobby doing? In some situations, in the way some programs might work in schools, it could be, I can't confirm or deny that I know Bobby. And really that's out of an effort to protect the confidentiality of a student, right? And that's a very good thing, but sometimes within a school setting, it can be more helpful to be able to collaborate and to let others in on that support process for the student. So there's a number of individuals there on site who can tell who's in the program in real time, where they're at, how many sessions they have left, this kind of thing. So this all happens through a database that we have built and a system we've built through Google. We have a business associate agreement with them and a Google Vault to make sure everything stays locked down and safe. And so that referral happens through a Google form confidentially and goes to us immediately to the mental health specialist. And typically between referral and when a student is receiving services is about 2 days, about 2 school days, that between a referral to when a student is meeting with a mental health specialist. Is something that we really strive to make sure that it's timely mental health services for students. And we know in several counties that we're in, it could be 6, 7, 8+ week wait time for some other services within the community or elsewhere that the family might have to look outside the school. So 2 days can really make all the difference in the world. What does training look like? And I promise the rest of the T's are going to go a lot quicker. Here's just a snapshot on some of the evidence-based curricula that our mental health specialists received. Just bring your attention there to the bottom. We definitely want to make sure that we are at the bleeding edge of FERPA and HIPAA conversation to make sure we're within the bounds that we need to mitigate any kind of risk for the district or for the school site. And a majority of our training is how to navigate a school environment effectively. A school environment, a district environment is much different than maybe a community agency or a private practice. As we say in our training, every school is a city and every city has a mayor, and there's also someone that thinks they're the mayor or wants to run for mayor. And so navigating some of that sometimes is where there's people, there's going to be, you know, political dynamics, right? And that just is, it's not a good or a bad thing. And so we really train our clinicians to stay brief, positive, and mission focused. And our mission is really to increase access for students. So we don't get involved in the maybe some of the sometimes interpersonal dynamics. We want to make sure that we're there to navigate very seamlessly that education environment so that students are able to receive the services that they need. Transition, after a student concludes the 10 to 13 sessions, in the middle of that process, we are working with them. It's as a short-term program to what does it look like for ongoing care afterwards if there's a need for that. That could be, hey, let's bring your insurance card next time that you meet with us. Let me show you the phone number where we can look at for mental health services. Or let's take a look at this website and see the nearest Medi-Cal enrollment center. Or hey, let's get you on that list for county mental health provider so that maybe in 4 to 8 weeks or whatever it might be, we're able to make a warm handoff from this program, have a release of information signed, and the mental health specialist can connect with that community provider to let them know, here's what we've worked on, here's the progress, here's a level of engagement, and off you go, right? So we often serve as a bridge to community providers, to Medi-Cal, or it could be, here's a list of resources if there's ever a need moving forward for there to be ongoing support. So we make sure to give them that so it isn't just at the end, that's it. We have 3 customized referrals. We always make sure there's no cost and low cost partners there in the area that they live so they can continue to have support when necessary. All right, what kind of tools are we using? Here's just 2 of them. One's going to be at the primary level. Many of you might be familiar with Toolbox, the Toolbox project out of Oregon. And Mark Collin, we actually had a chance to have him at our conference just this last week, where Angela was a part of as well, and NAMI California was a part of. But here you can see these 12 evidence-based tools. We have it in Spanish as well as English. And these are some coping skills that we're teaching K-6 students on how to navigate some of the challenges, some of the unpleasant emotions, and even at very least helping them identify some of those emotions, identify some of those unhelpful thinking patterns so they can, again, succeed, engage with others, engage with the curriculum there in their school experience. And for our secondary curriculum, one of the main tools that we use is something that we're very proud to have a partnership with UCSF, as they have developed years ago, the wellness education platform called Gritx.org. I invite you to check it out. It is free, absolutely free. There's no username or any kind of paywall or anything like that. You can go check it out even right now on your mobile device or on a new tab, and you can see, here's one of the snapshots of something called the Skill Studio. If we would have had some time, I'd go into the site and show you. We click on that SAD card right there, and we can see a whole list of evidence-based interventions. They're all cool, they're animated, they have cool colors. It's a very welcoming, very diverse individuals there on the homepage, and you can see that it's able to help students and young adults. It's geared for ages 12 to 26 to increase some of the coping skills to kind of handle life's challenges. So we use that after there's been a rapport and a relationship that's made with a student. We might reference this or pull up a computer screen or now share our screen that our mental health specialists have. Sometimes it can take 3 or 4 sessions before we even get into this, right? Because if you've had experience in therapy, it can take a little bit to be comfortable and to establish that trust. So this is one of the platforms that we use. I invite you to check it out. Lastly is tracking. We want to make sure that we're providing districts with data that they can help make decisions for moving forward. And here's a couple of snapshots of what these biannual data report looks like. We give process data, which you'll see here, what is included in that: number of students referred, number of students that are receiving services, and the reasons they were referred. And then at the end of the year, we show pre and post data, so comprehensive data report. And at all times, it's non-identifiable data for students with some demographic information in aggregate. So here's one of the screenshots, an actual district. We removed the name, but here's, you can see the reasons for referral for students, and you can see there's non-diagnostic language, as it's not a school's role to diagnose a student. It can be a school psychologist's role to assess a student, but for a medical diagnosis, that's not our role or the school's role. So you'll see there, you won't see depression, you'll see low mood. You won't see generalized anxiety disorder, you'll see anxious mood. Districts really like that because it helps mitigate any kind of risk that they might be involved in. And you can also get a good temperature on where the school culture is at and how are students doing in this time. It's all real-time data we can provide to districts, to our partners as well. We use the Behavioral Emotional Rating Scale 2, the BERS 2, for our pre and post data. It has 5 subscales here. And I'll show you a screenshot here next of, again, some actual data for students that have participated in the program. And this is the kind of data that districts receive at the end for students that have been in the program for at least 12 weeks. This is a percentage rate of change. This is excellent data. And I will say, hopefully without sounding prideful, that a lot of these are typical numbers that we do see. And really, that's not a commentary on us and our program or anything, but that really is a commentary on the power and the impact that creating a safe space for a student to be heard, to have a time on a weekly basis where an adult is with them free of judgment or shame or criticism, and where some emotional literacy can happen, some increased coping skills. It can make a remarkable difference for these students. So there's a snapshot of that there. And I think that is it. Open for questions. Angela, take it away. It looks like Ali has a question, but I think there might be some questions in the Hoover app, or Hova app.
I think it's Hova.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for such a great overview. One of the things that, as I've been able to work with you and some of the other Blue Sky partners, is really just seeing how complementary our programs can be as part of a sort of menu of options for schools, having that practical service-based response available at the school, but then also having that warm handoff to the club environment where students can just gather more informally, talk with one another,
Yes.
and even the other way around too. As students join the club, they become more comfortable, they're able to ask more questions, and then
Yes.
knowing they want to take the step, that presence available. So, so again, thank you so much. We do have some questions. There's a few so we have either the Zoom chat box or the Whova app. I'm gonna kind of go back and forth.
Sure.
First one here that popped up, and we had such great feedback. Folks were sharing thank yous all the way through. Graham shared thank you for addressing the HIPAA FERPA aspect of mental health. Ali asks, is your connection to the school system made on a district-wide level? And then does that mean you reach out to each and every school district to offer this as a resource, or do they have to find you? What level of coverage or penetration do you have in California schools at the present?
Right, great questions. Thank you, Ali, for asking. So it's a bit of a both and. I think we're in about, we just added a new partner just this last week. I think we're around 100 schools across the state, and the areas that were really penetrated, I guess the word that you use, in the Sacramento area here in Northern California, Placer County, Sacramento County, West Sacramento, East Bay, South Bay, and then down in San Diego and Southern California. But now with the virtual setting that we're in, and as districts are even seeing more of a need at times right now, even in the midst of budget cuts across the state, we've had many of our partners increase their services because really they're seeing the needs that students have. And so we never do any kind of cold call or marketing or reach out to districts. Really, it's districts coming to us. It's great partners like NAMI of California that are able to work with us and get the word out, and vice versa for them. When students go through the program, we say, have you heard about the NAMI on campus club that happens here at lunchtime on every second Wednesday, this kind of thing. So we work together for that. In regards to district or the site level, that can vary. Sometimes there's school principals that reach out to us and they utilize site funds to bring services onto campus. And we even had one story for a district now that's been with us for about 4 years. It began with one principal, one school site, and then as it goes in education, this site said, hey, I'd like to have that. I'd like to have that. Why don't we have that? Why don't we have that? Now we're across the whole district, or even this district is in, every single one of their K through 12 schools, and nearby district says, hey, why can't we get this? And so it can happen at both levels. And yeah, if you'd like to talk more, my contact information is there. And really, especially with the great recruiting team and the program team that we have, we're able to, with the great relationships we have with universities and grad programs, we can recruit from almost anywhere in the state to help partner with schools to provide additional mental health services.
Thank you. And then there was a question that came in through the app as well about whether these services can be extended to be available for instructors and staff.
Great question. I wanted to kind of keep it narrow, but I will share this. If you go to hearyou.org, HEAR, I'll put it here in the chat. Let me stop share. HEARYOU.org. And that is our educator wellness division of Wellness Together. And that is confidential online counseling for educators and school staff for as long as you're a California resident, or even essentially 12 years and older. We're kind of opening up to there. You're able to receive those services. We do offer professional development for teachers at the site or district level, parent resource nights. We do that oftentimes with our partners. And as far as counseling for educators and for adults, you can find that at hearyou.org. We have a team of therapists across the state that are able to meet virtually with educators, school staff, and adults. Make sure to check that out. I don't want to go into it. This is more so for students, but HEARYOU.org. As really the heart of that came out of when you go to a therapist, you want to be heard. And there's really difference. It makes a difference when someone really hears you, right? So hearyou.org, educator wellness. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me as well, and I can direct you with our services coordinator, Melissa, to help you find out more.